A question that I receive fairly frequently and that I've answered a lot, especially in some of the roundtable consulting days that I do periodically. When should I hire an office person? So let me read you part of an email and then I want to answer this. This is about hiring an office person and how to get the confidence and the courage to do it and when to do it. So in this message it says, my true talent is in pushing production and getting projects done. Sales as well, so I hate being at the PC, which is why I love your software. I feel that as the marketing picks up, this situation will only get worse, and at some point we all have to bite the bullet and hire a non-billable person to help out. Please explain how you would do it if it was your first office assistant. Okay, so a couple key things here. The word non-billable, I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about how you figure this out because this is critical to scaling your company. This is one of those humps. So one of the first humps you have to get over is getting yourself out of the field. The next hump, oftentimes you got to get over, is getting that first assistant in the office to take stuff off of you. And I've probably said this before, so you've probably heard me say it, but it's just so critical to pound into your mind that it was pounded into my head a long time ago. If you are doing something that you could hire somebody else to do, whatever that dollar figure is you need to pay them is all you're worth. So let me say it a different way. If you are scheduling work in a software system, if you are taking a billing phone call and receiving a credit card payment, if you're taking a phone call and emailing an invoice, if you're sitting in front of your computer to type out an estimate for 20 minutes, all of those activities, if you could hire a $14 an hour person to do those activities, when you are doing those activities, you are making $14 an hour. That's really what it comes down to. So if you pay yourself hypothetically $40 an hour, whenever you're doing a $14 an hour activity, you are wasting money, big time. You're doing something that a $14 an hour person could do. That's not to put down a $14 an hour person. That's to say that you're the owner. You're the guy that made this thing happen. You're the guy that started it, that took all the risks. You're the individual that if it wasn't for you, this thing wouldn't be here. So you immediately have a unique set of capabilities that a lot of other people don't have. You have a level of go get it done and courage and make it happen that many people don't have. And you need to make sure that you're working in whatever your unique ability is. So in this email, it was mentioned that my true talent is pushing production and getting projects done, sales as well. 2 points here. One, that's exactly what this individual needs to be doing all the time because everything else they're doing is a waste of their talent and it's hurting the company. They also made a mention that I hate being in front of the PC. So that means that they're probably not doing their best work. There's somebody that loves being in front of the PC. They don't want to sell. They don't want to talk to the customer on the phone all the time. They don't want to manage projects. They don't want to be outside. They want to be in front of the computer and they love that stuff. The stuff that you hate doing, somebody else loves doing. And as crazy as it might seem to you, there's somebody that really does love doing that and wants to do it all the time and isn't bored by it. Therefore, give it to them. They'll do a better job. With your training, they will do a better job. So, if you want to scale the company, your only chance of scaling the company is stop doing the work that doesn't pay you much money. Only do the highest value work in your business and get yourself as fast as you can to a point in the company where you're doing only the work that you're the very best at and you're hiring other people to do the other stuff. You know, one of the things that I've come to realize is I grew up thinking that I had to work really, really hard, which was right. I believe in it. I'm teaching my kids to work really, really hard and get the work done, work really hard, do things different than everybody else does. But at the same time, you can take that too far and you can be so conditioned that I've got to work harder. If I just work a little harder, push a little harder, that I will make more money, that I'll pull this thing off, I'll be successful. And that's not actually always true. It's taken me a long time to figure this out. I think I'm just now figuring this out, that it's more about doing the right stuff and getting as much junk out of your life as absolutely possible. So for example, when you're not working, I believe you shouldn't be doing anything. Like, I want to put myself in a position where if I'm not working on my business, I'm not mowing the lawn, I'm not cleaning the house, I'm not taking out the trash, I'm not doing anything that's even slightly work related. I want to be like off. I want my mind to be free. I want to do fun stuff or do nothing, because you've got to give yourself a moment to rejuvenate. You've got to give yourself a moment to think. You've got to give yourself time to recover. And if you're not doing that, your business will never be great. So as fast as you can, you've got to be putting yourself into a place where you're getting some time to recover and you're giving other people things to do. So if you're like me and you feel like I can just push through and work harder than everybody else, and therefore I will be more successful than everybody else, I actually think it's a bit of a hindrance, because then you'll never let yourself give stuff to other people. You'll never let other people take things over because you feel bad when you're not working really hard all the time. And I think it's a bad mistake. And so if you've got to, and I say all this to be aware of it because I think it's all related. One is we're afraid that we can't afford to hire the person. Two, we're afraid they're not going to do as good of a job as us. And three, I think subconsciously there's an element of guilt with business owners and entrepreneurs that I'm taking a break, I'm not working as hard as everybody else. And you can still work really hard, but you really have to buy into the concept that, number one, if you're not working in your greatest skill, there's probably somebody that could do it better than you. Number two, if you're doing something that somebody else you could pay far less, you're wasting a lot of money and you're slowing down the growth of your company, because if you let them do that, you'd be freed up to do something bigger that moves the company forward faster. And three, if you're not letting other people take stuff off your plate and you can never recover, you can never think, then you're never going to move your company forward. For example, if you don't know exactly what the most important projects are to be working on in your business, then you're just working on lots of stuff. The fastest way to move the company forward quick is to make sure that of the 5 million things you need to be doing, you're working on the 3 most important right now. It doesn't matter what you're working. It doesn't matter how many things you have to do. All that matters is that you're working on the next most important thing, the next 3 most important things. If you don't get time because you've got stuff off your plate to think through what are the 3 next most important things, then you're just going to bounce back and forth and you're going to be working on everything and it's going to feel like you're making progress. And then at the end of the year, you're like, why is my business only a little bit bigger? Well, it's because you didn't work on the most important, biggest activities that would have the biggest effect on moving the company forward. You've got to create that time for you to think through that. You've got to create a little bit of calmness in your life so that you don't feel constant stress every time something goes wrong, where you deviate from the plan that you did think through. And for example, if you discover these are the next 3 big things we're going to work on in the business, and then you're back at doing every activity in the business, and the next phone call you take is another fire, and you say, well, this is the new priority, and you drop the other 3 that you had spent all that time figuring out. Now they're off the table, you're on the next fire. Then you hang up the phone, then you're on the next fire. You're never being strategic. And you've got to imagine that the big guys, the guys that have built their companies to a big level, were strategic. They said, this is the company priority. We're going to focus on it. Yes, we've got other problems. Yes, we've got other fires. We're going to deal with them, but they are not going to distract us from the big focus. And I believe that the only way you create that ability for you to have that focus is by getting stuff off your plate. And again, let me tell you, this has been a huge learning area for me. It's been a huge struggle for me. I've had pretty good success, and I've been fighting it all the way, and I'm fighting it to this day. And this is a big area that I'm personally focusing on. So I hope it's of help to you, because I think if you can I know if you can create some time to think, get the little stuff off your plate, it will change your business. So it all goes back to hiring this office person. And I've had so many people say, God, I'm glad I finally did that asked for advice on what they should do. And I said, you need to get all these things off your plate. Nobody ever comes back to me and says, hey, that advice you gave me where I should get this stuff off my plate and quit doing that work, that really wasn't good advice. Nobody ever comes back and says that. Everybody says, thank you. That actually does it. A lot of people don't actually do it because it's scary. I'm telling you, if you get stuff off your plate, your mind will be freed up. You will have new ideas, you'll have new focus, you'll see things a different way, and you'll be working on the more important stuff. And that little potential void of financial void you create for a moment where suddenly you have this money going out the door to pay for this person you didn't have before, you'll quickly fill in that void because you'll have new ideas, you'll have new time to go work at what you're best at. In this case, go out and sell, that you'll sell this new work, they'll totally pay for that person and more. And you've got to constantly be creating more money so that you can afford to hire more people. So I am very, very, very big on minimizing non-billable activities. Drive time, load time, filling up your, getting ice, filling up your water jugs, buying food at the convenience store, stringing the weed eater line, maintaining the equipment, driving between jobs, talking to customers between jobs. You can go on and on. Those are all non-billable, non-revenue generating activities. I'm huge on getting all of that out of your business as much as possible. But this is a non-billable person, yes, but it's got huge leverage points for you in that you are shifting all of the non-billable things you're doing, and you're an expensive person. Maybe you're not getting a big paycheck yet. At the end of the day, you're uniquely capable, so you're an expensive person that just isn't fully realizing their value in money yet, but you will when you build out your company. You've got to get all the non-billable junk you're doing out of your life and get it on to somebody else that's far less expensive than you so that you can now work on the big stuff. And then if you kind of imagine a set of stairs and you're starting at the bottom, you're at the bottom stair and you're doing all these things and you hand those to the person below you to take them over, it frees you up. Now you get to move up one rung on the ladder, on the stairs. And then you've got these new things, and one day you realize, hey, there's a bunch of stuff I'm doing that I could give off to somebody else, and you hand that off to a person in your organization or hire a new person. Now you get to move up another stair and another stair, and you keep doing bigger and bigger and bigger and higher level things in the company. And you have to do this to break through the $1 million revenue mark, the $5 million, the $10 million mark. There's all these bottlenecks that you're going to hit. And the only way you get past them is to educate yourself on new things you didn't know, and then to delegate the stuff you're doing today to free up to do all the new things you're learning to take your company to the next level. One final thing. There's a reason why only like 9 or 10% of this industry makes over $1 million a year. That is one of the reasons right there. That is one of the top reasons why very, very few guys in this industry will ever break $1 million in gross revenue. It's not because of lowballers. It's not because of too much competition. It's not because the industry's too hard. It's not because it's a bad industry. It's not because, your mom was mean to you when you were growing up. It's not because of any other factor. It's generally because you're not working on the most important things to move the company to the next level. That's generally the holdup. It's either going to be money, which you can create the money if you're working on the right things, and it's because you're the guy doing everything generally in the business. And I say you, and I'm talking to me, I'm talking to all of us. We're usually the ones holding up the ship because we're doing too much stuff and we become the bottleneck. We as the owners are generally the bottleneck in the company, and we're slowing it all down. When you start to get yourself in a position where you're no longer the bottleneck, things go faster and faster and faster. And every time you educate yourself and move to the next level, pretty quickly you become the bottleneck again. Then you free stuff up, and then there's a period of time where things are running, and then boom, you're the bottleneck again. You got to keep getting out of the way. And that means passing stuff on to other people and moving on to the bigger and bigger stuff. Really, really important topic. Good luck.